Take the screen down, James. Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Three Nations Dementia Working Group webinar. We're very happy to be with you this morning. I hope you're safe and well wherever you are. And this morning's theme for the webinar is peer support. People with dementia and unpaid carers say that peer support with and from their peers is something they value the most. It helps to keep people more socially connected, giving them confidence and motivation to participate in their communities and friendship circles. It also helps them feel valued by being listened to and able to help others with similar experiences. And of course, it fosters a sense of belonging. As always, we have a very good panel to help us with this, to explore these subject matters, and I'll introduce them. And I will introduce them shortly. My name is Nigel. I'm chair of the Three Nations Dementia Working Group, and I'd like to quickly remind you, these webinars rely on you. We need your comments, responses, and questions via the text boxes, which you'll find at the bottom of the screen, and the question and answer boxes, which are also at the bottom of the screen. If you raise your hand, unfortunately, we'll be able to see you. We can't personally respond to every request, but we do what we can to signpost as we go along. I'd like to also further remind you that these webinars are designed, produced, and presented by people who are living with dementia. So that's all from me. I'm going to introduce some more interesting people as we go along this morning. And the first of our speakers this morning is Mr. Stanley Limbert from the Free Republic of Liverpool. Good morning, Stanley.
Good morning, Nigel. Stan, if you don't mind, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Stan. I'm approaching 80 years of age. I've got the early onset of Alzheimer's. My first introduction to peer support was the 7th week of my post-diagnostic group, where one of the people that came along was a fellow member of Three Nations, a guy called Tommy Dunn. He came along with his wife and explained how he got on with his life after getting the diagnosis. This is a thing that most people who get a diagnosis, they think that's it, that's the end of the world, or what they fear the worst. Well, you'll probably find out from what we're saying today, that's not the case. We get very much involved with peer support. That one I'm saying we up here in Liverpool, we're quite well blessed for the support we get from the professionals. In our case, it's Lee Moss, formerly Mossley Hill Hospital. There's very few of us in the dementia field that can say, yeah, they can see and speak to their clinical psychologist or the clinical lead for dementia at least once a month. In our case, we're quite often 2, 3, 4 times a month. So that side of it is very good. We've got that rapport with the academics or the experts. The real experts are perhaps ourselves. We've got quite a variety of the 109 versions of dementia. Each one is totally different, and each person that has one of those varieties, again, is totally different from his partner or somebody in the same boat. For me, I get a lot more from peer support, which is borne out quite often because we do work with 2nd, 3rd year, 4th year medical students. We also do, as I said, the post-diagnostic groups. Quite often, the people that are on those groups will say, and there's no reflection on the academics or the professionals, they've learned more from us in that the hour to 2 hours they get from us in the afternoon than they do the full 7 weeks. And that's purely and simply because, yeah, we live with the damn thing. We can cover a lot of the queries that they've got, and primarily, yeah, it's proof positive that there is life after diagnosis. I've been diagnosed since 2014, but my dementia is only very short term. a lot of people that I talk to in the peer support group, the way they want to get involved with this, they say, well, you haven't got dementia. Well, I have. You know, the number of times I pick something up and put it down, and if I put it back in the right place or the same place it's come from, that's gone. It's lost. Not forever. It'll turn up at some point. But my problem is my short-term memory. My long-term memory, I don't have a problem with. I'm very fortunate in that sense. But it is being able to put this across to fellow people living with dementia. Yeah, you can cope, you can get by with it. There's always workarounds. And we can enable them to use those workarounds. We come across quite a variety of people, and because always you've not just got the question of dementia, they're normally burdened with another illness or another problem. Again, we talk a lot to carers. We actually, Roy and I started up a group it's called the Chuckle Brothers, and we meet twice a day on Zoom, and it's with carers, with people living with dementia. But that works. It came about from the pandemic, when everything that we had access to, Lee Moss or Mossley Hill or whatever, was cut to the bone. So we decided we would keep our own people in touch, and we kept that up, and it kept on going. The topics are varied because each person, as I said, is different, and each can get a different slant on whatever we come across. If they've got a query, it might be something about attendance allowance or something like that. And anything, things that little bother, things that you get bothered with. But we, because we've been involved with it for a number of years, have some of the answers, not all the answers, but some of them. But yeah, so without peer support, you're stuck. You're really stymied. You do, I know I did, and I know others have said the same thing. They doubt the fact that they have got dementia. And it's not until you speak to other people, you realize, yeah, there are varying degrees of dementia. But you get on with life. And one of the bonus sides of making peer support, you make a lot of friends. Those friends are invaluable in not just peer support, but they replace the friends that have dropped by the wayside because they don't know how to deal with the person that's slightly different to the way that they remember them. Really, that's my slant on peer support. If anybody's got any questions, I'll answer them later on. Thank you.
Well, I've got a question for you, Stan.
Yeah.
I've often heard people say to me that peer support is the best kind of support because it's a safe space and you're talking to people that understand the issues. You know, they've been there, done it, got the T-shirt. Do you have a similar view to that?
Yeah, quite often that does occur. As I said, one of my first things, it was about 18 months, 2 years before I really accepted the fact that I had dementia, because I was still in the learning phase, and the people I was getting involved with were a bit more advanced. But yeah, you do learn, you acquire the extra knowledge that you need. A lot of it is common sense, but it's I can't think of anything else on that score. It's the people, as I say, in my circle now, and I'm not embarrassed to say this, my people that I associate with are either people living with dementia, carers of people living with dementia, or people who actually work in the dementia field, like my psychologist, or my OT, or my care navigator. That's my little network of people, and that enables me to live my existence, have my life.
Thank you, Stan. I might like to add, Stan is also a member of our Saturday and Sunday groups, as is Roy, and as is Tim, and as is Rob. They are purely informal groups where people can talk about issues. I get the kind of support that they wouldn't normally get outside a group of people who've been there. and usually have a solution to things. My next speaker is Tim Little. Good morning, Tim.
Morning.
Tim is the lone participant from outside of Liverpool. Well, and me, the second one. Tim lives in Essex, has been nominated for a Dementia Hero Award for setting up a peer support group in his area with Eamon Dobbin. Good morning, Tim. Over to you.
Okay, thanks. I received a diagnosis of Lewy body dementia in November 2020. This was via telephone on a Friday morning in the middle of the second lockdown. I was told someone from the Alzheimer's Society will contact you in 6 weeks. Didn't understand why. I haven't got Alzheimer's. I didn't ask because there was too much other stuff rattling around inside my brain at the time. The end of Friday, I'm just starting to get my head around the idea. I need to talk to somebody. It's the weekend. There's no one until Monday. Being the type of person who wants to know who, what, why, when, on where and how, I asked Mr. Google. By the Sunday afternoon of that first weekend, having been mainly on American sites that tell you how long you've got left, I turned to my wife and said, I want to go to Switzerland. This wasn't a humorous.
Tim, you've got onto mute.
Sorry, fingers wandering over the keyboard as I'm got my paperwork on it. How far did you hear?
Trip to Dignitas.
Right. Yeah, I was right. By the Sunday afternoon, I said to my wife, I want to go to Switzerland. This wasn't a humorous aside. If my appointment had been in a memory clinic, there is apparently a dementia nurse and or a dementia support worker from the Alzheimer's Society at the clinic. Their job is to tell you that support is available and the Alzheimer's Society provides the ongoing support. When I was finally put in touch with the Society, they suggested joining an early onset online support group. This has been invaluable. When talking about post-diagnostic support, talking to people who have dementia has no equal. Professionals know their stuff, but they learnt it from a book. We learnt it by living it. I now know, sorry, start that again. I know and have known people with cancer. Cancer is a very unfriendly thing to get. They have my sympathy. I don't know what it's like to have cancer. I've neither got it or had it. Likewise, I have no idea of the challenges faced by someone with cancer or the complications chemotherapy and or radiotherapy will bring to their lives. I can sympathise and empathise, but that doesn't come close to understanding precisely what it is they are going through. The exact same thing is true of dementia. If you haven't got it, you don't get it. And that's the end of what I've got typed up. So, the same as Stan, more than happy to answer any questions now or afterwards.
Well, I have. Obviously, you and what you've done in Essex is an example of doing it for yourself, really. I mean, Annie Mitchell says in the comments, lovely words, Tim, very, very true. And I think that feeling of desperation, you know, when the diagnosis is delivered, sometimes is overwhelming for people. I don't know if you felt that, Tim. I know I did. And what I would have loved would be able to go on within a day or so of my diagnosis and talk to somebody else who's in the same boat as me. And that's presumably what you're trying to do in your neck of the woods,
Yeah.
am I right?
Yeah, we're at the moment purely young onset because the three of us that have set it up are all early onset. And it's for people newly diagnosed so that they've got someone to talk to, you're not left on your own. And talking to somebody who's got it, I now know I could have another 40 years of life with varying levels of mental capacity, or obviously diminishing because I've got dementia. but I could still be managing all my own affairs at the end of my life. Way we're represented in the media, if you think of Emmerdale, the vicar there, the actor wanted to retire, so they gave him dementia. Within 9 months, he'd lost his memory, got violent, he was sectioned, he died. That's what people see. We lose their memory, we get violent. And that's what I sort of thing I thought was going to happen to me. I thought I'd probably had it for about 10 years. My wife and I disagree on this, but I haven't got violent. I've got angry and I've punched walls because of the misinformation that comes out, and just violently opposed to having this lovely little thing attached to my brain. But the way we're represented is just so unrealistic. And I used to think the same as that. How do you talk to people with dementia? Well, we're doing it now, aren't we? You just talk to them. And most of my, as Stan said, most of my friends have gone. Like nearly all of them. A lot of my wife's friends don't want to know anymore because I've got dementia.
It can be a very lonely place, dementia, can't it? You know, when you're diagnosed. And peer support, do you agree with me when I say the good peer support, positive peer support, takes away that feeling of loneliness when you suddenly realise you're not the only one?
Yeah, we're unusual, but we're not abnormal.
Yeah, well, some more unusual than others.
Yes.
Myself in. It's quite interesting that you were forced to sort of do it yourself. Not forced to do it yourself, but you know, you decided to form this peer support group yourselves, because to me that gave you the opportunity to mold the group as you wanted it. Am I correct in thinking that?
Well, we had the area manager at the time for Alzheimer's Society set up a strategy group with the three of us, because she wanted to know, or feedback from people with dementia on varying subjects. And she always had a good relationship with the local commissioner, who came on one of the calls, and she said, "You three gentlemen tell me what you'd like." I said, "Well, peer support would be nice." Actually being rather selfish and thinking peer support for me. 2 weeks later, she came up with £85,000 of brand new funding and said, "Set it up." And we just got about £70,000 for the second year. So that, and we've been involved from the word go. It couldn't have been done without the staff of the Alzheimer's Society, who've been absolutely brilliant. They've sat there and they've listened to what we've said. They've gone away, worked out how that can actually work, and then come back and said, "Is this what you meant?" We've either agreed or disagreed. If we've disagreed, they've gone away again and come back to us until it's what would work for people with dementia. And you said I've been nominated for the Dementia Heroes Award. It's the three of us have been shortlisted. But as far as I'm concerned, that should be included all the staff as well. Because it's not just the three of us, it's the whole team.
Do you think professionals, people working in the system actually buy into peer support as much as they should?
I think they're starting to.
Yeah.
Our staff all get it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've not really had much experience of it apart from Three Nations and our service.
Yeah. I mean, there's a question here from Peter Clark, and he asks, in your opinion, does peer support mean everybody with a diagnosis or people at different stages?
To everybody.
Yeah, I would suggest that. I would suggest everybody, yeah.
Because I'm not in the later stages yet, but to get advice from people or the input from people who are in the later stages of how they're dealing with things, forewarned is forearmed.
Yeah.
And with dementia, as Stan said, long-term memory is what you keep. So if I can get stuff forced into my brain now, as I get to later stages, I've got more chance because it's then become long-term memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me at the time, I'm not going to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's something that we should start from beginning. But not everybody wants the peer support. It's horses for courses, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
How that peer support happens. But I think it's useful to start from diagnosis onwards. And
there's one chap who might be coming into our service. He's been diagnosed for over a year. He asked to be left alone for at least a year so he could get used to the idea, which is fine. It's there if you want it. If you don't want it, don't have it.
Yeah. I get that. Thank you, Tim. We'll come back to it later. Quite inspiring, and best of luck on the 28th. Is it the 28th? The Dementia Care Awards, the 20th? I can't remember.
I think so, something like that.
Yeah, because these are the kinds of things that people should get to know about out there. You can start your own and not wait for it to come along. My next speaker is Rob Barnes. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning.
Rob is an American by birth, but he's ended up in Liverpool. I think more by luck than judgment, I guess. Anyway, Rob, good morning to you.
Hey, I'm Rob Barnes. I'm diagnosed with vascular dementia. I've had it for 5 years now. And it wasn't for peer support. I think I'd be a lost person to get positive advice and get pointed to the right direction for help. And since I've been on Zoom with Roy and Stan, it's been a really big help in my life. And then 3 Nations, I look forward to every week and hear the positive and the problems that everyone's having with their own dementia. And it means a lot to me. And I feel comfortable around you. And I don't mind talking about it. And I think here. But one of the things I felt was a big help, and it was the memory group. They help you remember stuff that you've forgotten. And it's helped me. My short-term memory is rubbish. I mean, I go to the fridge thinking I'm getting my pills out of there. So that I'm hearing things that it's not there. I'm seeing things that are not there. I'm kind of concerned about those 2 things. I'm not sure what's next. But the positive thing is I just keep going, be myself, and stay in touch with the people with dementia. I get more out of the people with dementia than I do if I saw a doctor or a psychologist, whatever. I just don't get nothing out of them. And then when you get sent to your GP to evaluate where you are in your dementia, it's kind of a bit of an insult because they don't know anything about it. And the ones that do, like Stan says, it's all textbook. They don't know what's the real dementia is about. But when I was diagnosed, when I left, got in the car, I thought my life was over. For some reason, he told me I had 5 to 6 years to live. They told me to get a power of attorney and have a proper will done. So I did all that. And let's sit back and think, what was the point of doing that when they don't know for sure how long I got? I may live another 20 years. But I struggle every day when it comes to my wife. I seem to do the wrong thing or say the wrong things. I get angry. I try very hard to control myself. Well, it scares me. These are when I need help. I have Roy and Stan to go to. They can give me advice and stuff. Same with 3 Nations. So I'm grateful that I got the 3 Nations and the Choco Brothers. It helps the burden. But all I got to say. Nigel.
Rob, you made some fairly meaningful comments there. What about? I'm going to ask you. I will talk to all of the panel. Really, is Rob said that he got more out of peer support than he did of any other contact that he had with dementia services.
Yeah.
Do you think that's one of the huge benefits of peer support is that you get more out of it?
Yeah.
Stan, do you think that's? Rob is saying that he gets more out of his peer support than any other services. Do you think that's
Yeah, I agree with that. It's what I said before. Roy and I have encountered this with the different post-diagnostic group we've done, and again, it's no reflection on the academics or the professionals. The people that live with dementia can put it over at the right time, at the time of the diagnosis, where you're getting the information, if you like, straight from the horse's mouth, as it is, because we all live it totally different. And when you consider each person is different in their, not just their approach, but the way they lead their lives. So yeah, peer support is essential and it's more beneficial.
Yeah. Tim, would you concur with that?
Yeah, it's like I said, if you haven't got it, you don't get it. The professionals, all well-meaning, they do a brilliant job, but there's limits to what they can do, including family and friends. I mean, my wife is absolutely brilliant, and I'll have it a bit. She's my best friend, but she doesn't fully get what it is that we're going through. Other people with dementia get it more, which is why peer support is absolutely essential. But also you need peer support for the family and carers as well, because I don't know what they're going through. And it's not very nice, but it's much more personal, if you like, because they understand.
Yeah, and I think it also takes the pressures off loved ones and carers sometimes, that people have a place to go where they can feel safe and express themselves.
Yeah,
It helps, doesn't it? Because Rob, there's a lot of love out there for you. There's a lot of people saying that thanks for sharing the words. Adrian Wright, Annie Mitchell, all in your corner. Fiona Carter, all saying things like, thanks for sharing, thanks for being so honest. And can I thank you, Rob, for being so honest? Because I know, sometimes it's difficult to come and speak on these webinars. And thank you so much.
you can take that from all of us.
Yeah.
Can I just add that I've known Rob for a number of years now, and that's the longest I've heard him speak for about himself and everything else. Normally, and I don't think he's a bit shy in coming forward, but brilliant. Well done, Roy. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up with the Scottish duo, Rob and Roy, but well done, Rob.
Well done. Well, our next speaker is Roy Foden from, have a guess where, Liverpool. Roy has a medical background, and as a specific view on the way people with dementia cared for these days, and how the diagnostic process is handled and everything else like that. So Roy is going to talk a little bit about what peer support means to him. Good morning, Roy.
Good morning to everybody. Thanks, Nigel, from sunny Liverpool at the moment. How can I start? I was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's disease about 8 or 9 years ago, something on that time scale. And I'm an outpatient of the Moss Hospital here in Liverpool, which is a dedicated, purpose-built dementia hospital with about 18-20 beds and obviously too well. And Broadway Hospital here in Liverpool, which is a major hospital in the trust. Which deals, from my point of view, for my needs with the Parkinson's disease. Peer support, what a word, set of words, how vitally important this is to me personally, and has become more and more evident along my journey, especially with the type of dementia I have with problems. I live on my own, like Stan does, and a self-care, not always successful. I might add, definitely sometimes, definitely not. My wife passed away about 24, 25 years ago now. I have 2 children who live in the south of England with obvious support from them, but obviously at a distance. I count myself fortunate to receive medical and clinical support from both hospitals, including monthly home visits from a psychiatric nurse, access to a consultant clinical psychologist, and others in the multidisciplinary centre team, which I'm incredibly grateful for. I do take a large range of medication to help me cope on a daily basis, especially with the Lewy bodies and its effects on the visual hallucinations, audible hallucinations, visual spatial problems, swallowing, numerous other things that happen on a daily basis. The worst probably is the visual hallucination, which I can never really get my head around. That's life. Obviously, the medication helps. It's necessary. I've got to take it. Without it, I don't know where I would be. Probably on the way, as Tim said, I've had thoughts in the past of taking suicide, taking my own life, and going on to try to life too. that's history now. I'm fully aware that the time might arrive when I can't cope and support myself, and I could end up in some sort of institutional care of some sort. I am a retired nurse. What I've tried to do is not totally rely on medication. In other words, pop the pills and watch daytime TV and drive yourself around and twist me more than I am. And try to build what I call a vendetta against the disease. And it's been a long, hard road to achieve that. But, and like everybody else has said, I am in no way knocking the professionals, the medics, nothing like that. I wouldn't be here without them. But what is very, 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 very important to me is peer support from many friends such as Stan and Rob, numerous others who suffer with dementia in all its different forms. And equally as important, because I've learned so much from talking to other patients, unfortunately have now passed away, and their carers. I've learned a lot from them. As I say, I've tried to build a vendetta against it because Louis Montes tries to chip away and separate me from the real world out there. Especially evident during the pandemic, where I felt I was a prisoner to the disease. Legally, we had to self-isolate from that context outside. That was a nightmare. And I don't know where I would have been without this peer support. It's helped me so much. I've built up such an array of friends. But it's friends that I can rely on that aren't going to laugh at me or make fun of me because I act inappropriately sometimes, which I do. I do get verbally aggressive and start sales and Rob. That's the latest trait it's building. It's chipping away at me. But I wouldn't know where I would be without the peer support. But these are true friends. They understand when I do lose the plot and I act inappropriately verbally and I get aggressive, but not, thank God, not aggressively other than. And Tim, you said, Tim, that sometimes I punch the wall, I headbutt the wall. I get in a terrible state. It's just frustration of the two diseases. But without that peer support, I would be lost. It is equally as important as the medication and the clinical and academic support that I receive from the two hospitals. What can I say? I'm frightened of the future. I'm frightened of institutional care. Bear in mind, I was a nurse for all those years, but now I'm on the other side of the fence. And I wish sometimes, I think I was a good nurse, but I think I wish I had the knowledge then that I have now about people suffering with dementia in all its forms, and equally as important, because I think I would have been a better nurse. I also remember doing not a post-diagnostic, but we used to meet before the pandemic, groups of medical students. I think they were in the third year. It used to surprise me that you'd say to them, okay, how long are you doing in the hospital? With just one day. So they talk to professionals in the morning, they talk to Stan, myself and others living with dementia and recurs in the afternoon. And then they go off back to university, and then the next placement might be pediatrics and all their children's hospital. And they've been there for 4 and 5 months. Very little towards dementia, certainly mental health. So it's just it's easy to sit here, take the medication, and rely on the NHS to do everything for you. You've got to try yourself, depending on the degree of and how dementia affects you. You can't just sit here. You've got to get involved. You've got to get involved, I think, in research process to better understand and not just look at it from my own poor old me. You know, this generation, I'm getting mixed up with generations to come, but we've got to learn to help others. But without peer support, I don't know where the hell I would be because I can pick the phone up 24 hours a day. I can come on Zoom with Stan, Rob, and others twice a day. But at the same time, I'm scared of dementia or everybody's chipping away at me and separating me from the real world. So I'm still the person I was, but with a major difference. The way I act, the way that I communicate, is always. Sorry, guys. I'm just incredibly grateful for the whole thing where the support of the two hospitals and obviously peer support has to be top of the pile. As equally as important as the medication to help to give me a life and realize I am still me. But not 100%. Sorry. I'm getting mixed up, sorry. I'd like to say more, but it all becomes a jumble in my mind. It's really not. I'm so sorry.
Right. I know you fairly well, and I know the issue that you face, and I know that was an incredibly brave thing you just did there.
Can I just stop? This is what really bothers me. There's a friend of mine now for 12 years I've known him. He's now in institutional care, devastated with dementia. And I feel guilty because I should go and see him in that care home. I can't bring myself to do it.
That's understandable.
It's disgraceful, but I should be able to do it.
Yes.
Because
Yes,
he's
but
given me friendship for a lot of years. Phil, I won't give his full name, Phil. And I keep putting it off because I'm frightened am I going to end up like that. Bloody hell, I'm a nurse, for Christ's sake, but I can't. I'm on the other side of the fence. Sorry, I'm bottling now. I've shoplifted. The disease has caused me to shoplift. I don't have any financial problems. Local Sainsbury's goes in with the shopping trolley, use the automatic tills. What did I do? Walk out, didn't pay for it. I had credit card, debit card, and cash in the pocket. I've ended up in the back of a police car when I urinated in the street in public view. I don't know why I did it. The police were so good. Teenagers weren't understanding. Nothing came of it, but it did come of it because in the end, me and several others did some lectures with the Merseyside police to try and make them understand what it's like to live with dementia. You don't need a custody suite on the back of a bloody police car, excuse the language. It's the lack of knowledge. It's the stigma, the lack of understanding. We've got a long way to go. We're getting there, even in my time now. I can see the differences, but it's still there. Sorry.
that's okay. That's okay, Roy. I just like to thank you for your honesty, and
There's no point. It's a real disease. There's no point in hiding behind. And we need to get it out there, what it's like to live with it, what it's like for loved ones, what it's like for the carers. It's a nightmare for them as well. Sorry,
yeah. But you mentioned some of the positive things there about peer support, and we've got a couple of questions coming, and I'm going to put these questions to everybody. We have a question here from Annie Mitchell, and if you'd all like to have a go at this question individually, that'd be great. We'll start with you, Stan. Does peer support work online as well as it does in person? What's your preference, and where's the best place?
I'm quite happy in doing it online because it means I can speak to quite a few people, but I'm equally happy with the group that we've got. We meet, as I say, at least twice a week together as a group with Lee Moss. So for me, it works both ways.
Yeah. Right.
totally important, as was proved through lockdown with COVID-19. This really came into its being, but unfortunately for me, I'm 50 to stand. I still want to be connected to the real world out there. I still want people to connect to that, and I don't feel sometimes because of the effects of Lewy body surgery, I still need to be part of that. I'm still me. What's the difference between if I had cancer, people, or cardiac problems, people can have sympathy, but once you mention the word as dementia, you lose your friends. I'm lucky because I've built up a huge array of friends now in the world of dementia. I'm so grateful for people like Rob, people like Scott.
Well, I tell you something. I would disagree with you there. You don't lose your friends. You lose acquaintances. Your friends stay
They
with
were
you.
never proper friends.
Yeah. Tim, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I've had peer support with the mental health team pre-pandemic, face to face, and it's invaluable. Yes, it's helpful being able to do it on Zoom because, as Roy says, you can get, and Sam said, you can get to more people. Our peer support service would really struggle at the moment because there aren't many of us because we're brand new. If it was for Zoom, so both are essential. We hope to get to do face to face at some point, but this, as we're doing now, it's the new face to face, but in person is much better, in my opinion.
I want to connect to that person. I want to shake that person's hand. I want to give that person a hug.
Yeah, it's like when someone wants to talk here, we've got to put a hand up to be able to talk. If you're in a room, it's a lot easier to judge when there's a gap in the conversation or when someone's finished. And you get a lot more done. When we were setting the peer support up, we started off doing it online. When we met, we would have, for one afternoon, we would have had to have about 6 meetings to get as much done as we did. Because just people could talk more freely. Conversation just flowed so much better.
The audience are overwhelmed by your honesty, all of you, and I think that's the one thing you get with peer support. You get honesty and support, and you get that feeling of, well, I'm not in this on my own. There's a question from Peter. There's a question from I think it was from. Let me have a look. It is. Anyway, the question is, it's from Peter Clark, and he says, does anyone else find the Admiral nurses very empathetic?
I've had no contact with Admiral nurses.
No?
I find it a little bit so technical sometimes. I feel like I'm looking at a textbook. I want you to understand the real world of it. I'm not knocking them, but sometimes, not only them, but
Tim?
I phoned them soon after I got my diagnosis, because no one else was really talking to me at the time, apart from Alzheimer's Society, but that was non-medical, and they were really helpful. I've met one who was accompanying somebody else with dementia to a dementia support for Lewy body session in London, and she was a lovely lady, but one-to-one, I've never actually had it. So I've heard from other people that they're really good, but personally, no real experience of it. I'd like it if there were more in our area, but as far as I'm aware, we haven't got any.
This is a question for all of you. There's been a great fuss about the lack of the publication of the 10-year dementia strategy, and nobody's ever seen it, but do you think that if it happens, if this dementia happens in another form, that peer support should be included in it as a must-do?
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah,
And why?
Prime importance, it's got to be the first thing, never mind the rest of it. We've made the point, without peer support, we'd be struggling. I mean, we've been struggling for quite some years here in Liverpool. We've been very fortunate, as I said. We've got Mossley Hill, it's now Lee Moss. we didn't have the Alzheimer's support for quite a while because they withdrew from Liverpool. So we were left to our own devices. And without support, peer support, we wouldn't have been able to do that. You know, it's like, okay, Roy touched on it. We treat some of it with a tinge of humour. I mean, Roy related one day that he'd gone to bed, pulled the sheets back, and there was a dog in the bed. I said, hang on a minute, have you got a license for it? Now that broke the ice for Roy. You know, it's not belittling the situation, it's making light of it. But I've got another one now. I've asked him, you know, if you get another dog, would you make sure it's something like a Labrador, because I'm losing my sight and I might need a guide dog.
Can I just jump
Okay.
in here that Stan, because of his statement with the hallucinations, which I don't even want to talk about to anybody, it broke the ice. And I actually laughed, and I'll always be grateful for that, man. I've got a licensed dog.
Yeah. I because talking to you all, Tim, you know, how vital is peer support within the structures of the services for people with dementia?
Essential. And when we have our peer support sessions, even the one under the umbrella of the Alzheimer's Society, that we don't always talk about dementia. If someone's got an issue or something that's happened and they want to talk about it, we talk about dementia. Otherwise, we're just a group of friends having a chat and being treated as normal.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the most valuable part of it. You feel normal.
Yeah, right.
Since being introduced by a Stan to the Three Nations Saturday and Sunday group, I find it so beneficial and so comforting, because I'm looking and hearing from people living with dementia. There are no curves there. There's no academics. And it's an extremely safe place to give over your problems, to hear answers from other people. Whoever thought it up, this Three Nation group, I don't know who it is, but you don't know how beneficial you've been. It must be hundreds of people. I really look forward to it on Saturday when the okay to come on. It's so beneficial.
Yeah, but well, I say that I had a conversation with Adele Leighton, and we came up with this idea just for the lockdown periods, because we were concerned that people may not have any contact during the week because of the closing of services. So we set up the Saturday Sunday specials. But now they're here to stay. You know,
1,000 hits, is it something like that now?
Something like that, yeah. They're here to stay, and it's of all the things I do, I think that's the most important thing I help with. Tim,
You made a comment earlier, not so long ago, about us being honest and open on here. Well, we want things to change. We've got to be. And what's the point of doing something like this if we're not going to be?
For the future.
Yeah, I mean, and you've
Yeah.
got that 10-year plan. It's too late for us. If they come up with a cure, it's not going to help any of us because it's too late. Too much damage has already been done. But for those yet to come, yet to get a diagnosis, it might help.
yes, I agree, but I still have the plan to get shot by Jenna's husband when I'm 90. So that's the way to go. Can I thank you all? It's we got a comment from Karen Davis right now. Many thanks for all your openness, honesty, valuable. Sorry, I need you to attend. Well, Karen, we'll excuse you this time. But can I just say, all of you, thank you so much for making this a very a very worthwhile webinar, and highly charged, I think is right, but in a good way, in a good way. to all the participants, there's a little survey for you to do at the end of this webinar. James, could you put the date of the next webinar in the chat box? Because I've lost track. Could you tell me, are we doing it? Okay, all right. All right, Hillary says, amazing, helpful. Thank you so much. It's the 21st of March and we're going to be dealing with bereavement, another difficult subject, bereavement and dementia. So all that's left to me is to thank you all for turning up, thank the panelists, thank the participants and all the signed in this morning. We're going to have a little 5 minutes quick debrief at the end of this, so don't the panelists go, but if everybody else wants to go, then have a great day. And wherever you are, stay safe, stay positive, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay.